Hi, insightful individuals. So, I have no idea what this video is going to be about exactly, to be honest. But I found a very interesting prophecy in Revelation, and some of it has occurred already. And I also found something, I believe it's a K post, if you know what I mean, but I'm not too sure. So, yeah, let's get into it. I don't know if this is going to be insightful or real or if I'm just making things up, but I really felt urgency to make this video, even though I really didn't want to. So, yeah. Okay, so many of you may know on the 23rd of September 2017, a star appeared in the sky, and God says the stars in the sky is like his timepiece so that we can know the days and the hours because it says in the latter days they would change the times and the days and it would deceive even the elect. So, yeah, I believe we shouldn't be on the Gregorian calendar, but yeah, that's maybe a debate for another day. But anyway, so here you can see this star line occurred on 23rd September 2017, and it only happens once every 7,000 years. And this relates to something written in Revelations 12. And Revelations 12 says, "And a great sign appeared in the heaven, and a woman clothed in the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and crying out in pain and the agony of giving birth. Then another sign appeared in the heaven, a huge red dragon with 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 royal crowns on his head. His tail swept a third of the stars from the sky, tossing them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, ready to devour her child as soon as she gave birth." So that's the sign that appeared on the 23rd of September 2017. And then it goes on to say, "And she gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. And a child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where God had prepared a place for her to be nourished for 1,260 days." So, because we don't know exactly what time scale we're on, or what calendar we're on, in my opinion, this gives us a very good indication because that sign only occurs once every 7,000 years. So God says, okay, I'm giving you these signs because they're going to change the times and the calendars so that you can still know when I'm appearing and when these things will come. So if you add 1,260 days to that date, you get 6 March 2021. And I don't know why more people aren't talking about this because that's right around the corner. And I might be a few days or weeks off, depending on the calendar. So, yeah, just take that into account. But to be honest, I have no idea what exactly this all means. So it just says the woman fled into the wilderness and God had prepared a place for her to be nourished for 1,260 days. So, it also reminds me of how we all fled to our homes and we were nourished and taken care of and kind of cocooned for um, these last couple of days since the outbreak. Okay, then it goes on to say a war in heaven. Then a war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But the dragon was not strong enough, and no longer was in any place found in heaven for him and his angels. And the great dragon was hurled down, the ancient serpent called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was hurled to earth, and his angels with him. So that might be what is going to be happening. And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, "Now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ. For the accuser of our brothers have been thrown down, he who accuses them day and night before our God. They have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives as to shy away from death. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea. With great fury the devil has come down to you, knowing that he has only a short time." So this might be occurring very soon. And I don't know if you guys know the Jonathan Clegg on YouTube, but he's been giving incredible messages from the Lord, I believe, and he believes. And he's built up quite a reputation because he's been active and doing this for about 9 years, I think. So yeah, he has gotten confirmation upon confirmation. He believes from the Lord that the pit is going to open. Now, the pit in Revelation, it speaks of the locusts in the pit, and his title in this is "Raise the Pit." You got to be kidding! The pit opening is imminent. Please prepare your hearts. And he kind of shows how. I'm not going to rephrase because he's very sensitive about how you pronounce it, and I don't want to give a message from God incorrectly. But yeah, maybe go watch that. But here he shows how Lady Gaga's new Oreo release has the same tear on, which is what happened on the 911 event. The same tear in that building is what's on her Oreo cookie design. And the reason they love the 911 date is because it relates to Revelation 9:11, which says, "They were ruled by a king, the angel of the abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek it's Apollyon." And it's speaking about the locust that look like pale horses prepared for a battle, something like crowns of gold on their heads, and faces like the faces of men. The hair was like that of a woman, and the teeth those of lions. They also had thoraxes and breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the roar of many horses and chariots rushing into battle. They had tall tails with stingers like scorpions, which had the power to injure people for 5 months. They were giving they were ruled by the king, angel of the abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek, the Apollyon. So that is what the 911 refers to, and why they have so many events, like bad events, kind of ritualistic on that day to honor their god, with a lower G, obviously. And then Revelation 12 goes on to say, "And when the dragon saw that he had been thrown down to earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings with great eagle to fly from the presence of the serpent to a place in the wilderness, where she was nourished for a times and half a time. But then from the mouth of the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and swept her away in the torrent. But the earth helped the woman and opened his mouth and swallowed up the river that has poured from the dragon's mouth. And the dragon was enraged at the woman and went to make war with the rest of her children who kept the commandments of God and hold the testimony of Jesus. And the dragon stood on the shore of the sea." So some people believe this is just a retelling of the first part of Revelation. So then you also get back to that March 6th date in 2021. But if it is a continuation and you add a times and half a time, 3.5 years, like we usually calculate it, you get 17 August 2024. But if you go according to Hebrew, what they like the Hebrew calendar and what they consider times and half time, then you add 1,260 days again, and then you get 6 September 2024. So yeah, these are just dates you might want to look out for. And that also relates back to this that's written in Daniel. So I'm going to read the rest of Daniel now. So that was the crux of my message. If interested, stay for the rest of it. But the main message is delivered. So, then I saw a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads rising out of the sea. There were 10 royal crowns on his horns and blasphemous names on his head. The beast I saw was like a leopard, with the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast appeared to be mortally wounded, but the mortal wound was healed, and the whole world marveled and followed the beast. They worshipped the dragon, who had been given authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who's like the beast, and who can wage war against it?" The beast was given a mouth to speak arrogant and blasphemous words, and authority to act for 42 months. There we have those 3.5 years, or 1,260 days again. And the beast opened his mouth to speak blasphemies against God, and to slander his name and his tabernacle, those who dwell in heaven. Then the beast was permitted to wage war against the saints and conquer them, and was given authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation. And all who dwell on the earth will worship the beast, and whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life, belonging to the Lamb who was slain. He who has an ear, let him hear. If anyone destined for captivity, into captivity he will go. If anyone is to die by sword he must be killed. Then this also relates to Jeremiah 15th. If you can see that little asterisk next to the word slain, that relates to Jeremiah 15th, apparently, which says, then the Lord said to me, even if Moses and Samuel should stand before me, thy heart would not go out to these people. Send them from my presence and let them go. If they ask you, where shall you go? You are to tell them this is what the Lord says. Those who destined for death, to death. Those destined for the sword, to the sword. Those destined for famine, to famine. And those destined for captivity, to captivity. I will appoint over them 4 kinds of destroyers, declares the Lord. The sword to kill, dogs to drag away, and birds and beasts of the air to devour and destroy. I will make them horror to all the kingdoms of the earth because of Manasseh, son of Hezekiah, king of Judah, did for Jerusalem. Who will have pity on you, O Jerusalem? Who will mourn for you? Who will turn aside? Who will ask you for your welfare? You have forsaken me, declares the Lord. You have turned your back. So I will stretch out my hand against you. I will destroy you. I'm weary of showing compassion. So this is apparently what relates to the previous verse we read. And then Daniel chapter 7 also describes these last days, and it says, in the first year of the reign of Belshazzar over Babylon, Daniel had a dream, and visions passed through his mind, and he laid on his bed. He wrote down the dream, and this is the summary of his account. Daniel declared, in my vision in the night I looked, and suddenly the 4 winds of heaven were churning up the great sea. Then 4 beasts came out of the sea, each one different from the others. The first beast was like a lion, and it had the wings of an eagle. I watched until the wings were torn off, and was lifted from the ground, and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and given the mind of a man. Suddenly another beast appeared, which looked like a bear. It was raised up, one of each side, and it had 3 ribs in his mouth between his teeth. So I was told, get up and gorge yourself on flesh. Next I watched, and another beast appeared. It was like a leopard, and on its back it had 4 wings, those of a bird. Beast also had 4 heads, and was given authority to rule. After this I watched in my vision in the night. Suddenly a 4th beast appeared, and was terrifying, dreadful, and extremely strong, with large iron teeth. It devoured and crushed. Then it trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the beasts before it. It had 10 horns. While I was contemplating these horns, suddenly another horn, a little horn, came up from among them, and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before. This horn had his eyes like those of a man, and a mouth that spoke words of arrogance. As I continued to watch, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow, and his hair that he was like pure wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and the wheels were ablaze. A river of fire was flowing, coming out of his presence. Thousands upon thousands attended him, and myriads upon myriads stood before him. The court was convened, and the books were opened. Then I kept watching, because the arrogant words of the horn was speaking, and I continued to watch. The beast was slain, and the body was destroyed and thrown into the blazing fire. As for the rest of the beast, their dominion was removed, but they were granted an extension of life for a season and a time. In the vision in the night, I continued to watch and saw one like the Son of Man coming up from the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days, and he led into his presence. He was given dominion, glory and kingship, that the people of every nation and language serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit, and the visions in my mind alarmed me. I approached one of those who were standing there, and asked them the true meaning of all this. So he told me the interpretation of these things. These four great beasts are the four kings who will arise from the earth, but the saints of the Most High will receive the kingdom and possess it forever. Yes, forever and ever. Then I wanted to know the true meaning of the fourth beast, which was different from all the others, extremely terrifying, devouring and crushing with iron teeth and bronze claws, then trampling underfoot whatever was left. I also wanted to know about the 10 horns on its head, and the other horn that came up before 3 of them fell. The horn, whose appearance was more imposing than the others, with eyes and a mouth, spoke words of arrogance. As I watched, this horn was waging war against the saints and prevailing against them until the Ancient of Days arrived and pronounced judgment in favor of the saints of the Most High, and the time came for them to possess the kingdom. This is what he said: the fourth beast is the fourth kingdom that will appear on the earth. Different from all the other kingdoms, it will devour the whole earth, trample it down, and crush it. And the 10 horns of the 10 kings who will arise from this kingdom. After them, another king, different from the earlier ones, will arise and subdue the 3 kings. He will speak out against the Most High and oppress the saints of the Most High, intending to change the appointed times and laws. The saints will be given into his hands for times and half a time. But the court will convene, and his dominion will be taken away, completely destroyed forever. Then the sovereignty, dominion, and greatness of the kingdoms under the heaven will be given to people, the saints of the Most High. The kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will serve him and obey him. Thus ends the matter. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts troubled me greatly, and my face turned pale, but I kept the matter to myself. So yeah, that's so this is going to be continuing with Revelation 13. The rest of Revelation 13 also kind of continues in this thought. And then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. This beast has 2 horns like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. And the beast exercised its authority of the first beast, and caused the earth and all those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, those mortal wound had been healed. And the second beast performed great signs to cause even fire from heaven to come down to the earth in the presence of the people. Because of the sign it was given to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived those who dwell on the earth, telling them to make an image of the beast that had been wounded by the sword, yet had lived. The second beast was permitted to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all those who refused to worship it to be killed. And the second beast required all people, great and small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And that's also so creepy, because as we see now with the virus, we have our heads scanned or our arms scanned, and that's exactly what they do to check temperature and what the mark of the beast is going to be doing. Here is a call for wisdom. Let the one who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it's the number of a man, and that number is 666. So I'm just going to quickly end off with this. I'm not too sure if this is a K post. I'm using a code, so I hope you know what I'm saying. But this is just something I found interesting. So apparently it says this was posted on the day of Biden's appointmentship, or whatever you would call that. And like many of you, I'm shocked by today, and then realized what had to happen, and that Kay told us this would happen and why this needed to happen. Kay did this and tell us that a scare event would be needed. Well, are you scared yet? And then it goes on to say a number of things. But what I would like to point out is that they say, like many, I thought this was over when Biden was sworn in, and he now became the CIC boy. I was wrong, because the fraud, as I pointed out, if the military has proof of it, they have the duty under military code to remove it, and the false government, and restore new legal civilization government under military code 11.3, which triggered when Biden was sworn in today. And then 11.3 is 11.3 is referenced again, and it says verifies as first marker. Now 11.3 might be the 3rd of March, so it can refer to that date, because it's quite close to March 6th. And yeah, but it can also refer to something completely else. I know some people believe that refers to maybe a subsection of legislation or something, but I just thought I'd point this out. If anyone has the dots to connect, please do so. And leave your interesting insights below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.